Okay, today my goal is to make sure that you've got the correct answers for numbers 47 through 60. So if you would please open up your review sheets to number 47. We're going to look through these and just make sure that each of these makes sense, because if you understand this review sheet, you're going to do fantastic on the midterm coming up this week. First things first, everyone identify what the variable is. Y. Kamari, what is not allowing y to be alone? Minus 4. Miles, how do I get rid of minus 4? Add by 4 on both sides. So this cancels out. I'm left with y is greater than. Garrick, what is that answer right there?
That is 10.
You are correct. So then you want to make sure you've boxed it in. The next thing it asked us to do is graph the solution. Many people have accidentally forgotten to graph it. So remember, if you don't have it graphed in there, you want to fix this for me. Also remember, on the day of the midterm, you will be turning in this review sheet, and each of the answers needs to be correct, which means if you get to this part in yours and for some reason it doesn't look like this, just erase it and fix it, and that will help you to have a better study guide, okay? Kyler, should this be an open or a closed circle? It is an open circle because 10 cannot be an answer to this solution. Max, should all solutions go to the right or to the left of 10? They should go to the right because it says everything is greater than. Remember, another way that I've taught you beforehand is you can see that that looks like a greater than symbol, and this is a greater than symbol, so you can check to see that you did that correct. If for some crazy reason you are not really remembering how to do this section, you could always go back. This is from 4.5, so if you would, just off to the side, I want you guys to write 4.5, and no, you can go back and watch any of the videos from chapter 4, and in section 4.5 you can see exactly how to do this. Let's go to the next one. Many people had some struggles with this, and this is one of the most commonly missed problems on our midterm. So up here, I've given you 4 options. Remember, your exam is going to be a multiple choice type exam. So let's figure out, first things first, our whole goal is to get x by itself. We know that this number is attached to the x, so we're not going to remove that negative 2 yet. Instead, I'm going to get rid of the add by 6. Armani, how do I get rid of add by 6? Very good. So we're going to subtract by 6 on both sides, which gives us 30 is less than or equal to negative 2x. Kiari, how do I get rid of that negative 2? Very good. Now notice, she told me that I have to divide by the exact number that is there. Many people I saw were dividing it just by a 2. You're trying to get rid of multiply by negative 2, so you have to divide by negative 2. When you do this, you will see 30 divided by negative 2 is? Negative 15. Now, there is something wrong with this. Unfortunately, when you have these inequalities, you must have the x first. In this case, you can see it's backwards. So in order to get this to where it should be, I am going to switch. You can see here the x is right here. I'm going to switch it to being on this side. You can see the negative 15 came first, but I don't want it first. I want it on this side. If I am switching the order, what do I also have to do to my symbol? I've got to switch it to the opposite way. Okay? So now that means the same exact thing as this, but it is written properly. The x came first. Now, there is a time when I have to flip the symbol. Does anyone remember when I need to flip the symbol? Ariane, when do I have to flip the symbol? Okay, he said if there's 2 negative signs at the end. That's part of it, but I need a deeper explanation. Kamari. If the last thing you do is multiply or divide by 2 negative numbers on both sides, you have to flip the sign. So if you notice here, I divided by a negative number on both sides. So I need to flip my symbol. So instead, this should say x is less than or equal to negative 15. Do you guys see that answer over there anywhere? Yes. Which one is it, A, B, C, or D? A. The correct answer is A. So at that time, you would transfer your answer onto the Scantron to make sure that you have put number 48 is A. Now, another thing that people kind of forgot to do was to graph that for me. What number should go in the middle, class?
Negative 15.
What's one less?
Negative 16.
One bigger.
Negative 17.
Open or closed circle? Closed, because it could equal negative 15. Going back to this, it says all solutions are less than negative 15. Which direction is less than?
Left.
To the left. Less than is always to the left. If you struggle with this, remember, go back to 4.5 and you can listen to that lesson one more time, and it should hopefully bring it back to your mind of something we learned previously. All right, guys, how many of you would say when you just checked your answer, you had the same thing as your partner? All right, here's what I need you to write. When do you have to flip the inequality symbol? Here's what it is. When the last thing you do is multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides. That is when you need to flip the symbol. If yours doesn't say this, there's a lot of details there. I want you to erase it and fix it. All right, the next one says the tires on your truck will last no more than 800 miles longer. Write and graph an inequality that represents the situation. We always know we're going to start with an X, and then we know we're going to put our number. Now the hardest part is trying to figure out which inequality symbol needs to go right there. Here's my question. If it says it will last no more than, that means it will not last more than. Not more than. If it's not more than, it has to be less than. So the hardest part now is to figure out, could it be exactly 800 miles? Yes, it could. Therefore, we know that it is going to be equal to. If you did not get that, please erase it and fix it. Now, here's one thing that I like to tell people. Try to come up with maybe something that can help you to plug in a number right here. If I were to say, on my truck, I was able to go 5 more miles or 5 miles longer, would that be a true statement? Could I plug in a 5 right there? Yes, because 5 is less than 800. What about if I had 1,000 and I said I went 1,000 miles longer? Could I do that? No, I could not. It says right there, not more than 800. So this does in fact make sense. Jeremiah, is this an open or a closed circle? It is closed because it could be exactly 800. Mason, are all solutions less than or are all solutions greater than 800? Less than, which means I have to go to the left. All right, next up, in order to ride the Hulk at Universal Studios, you must be no less than 54 inches. Raise your hand if you have ridden the Hulk before. Okay, a few people have. Hands are down. Same idea. Start with the X, put your number. If you were to come to the people who work at the Hulk ride and you say, I am exactly 54 inches, would they say, come on the ride? Yes, they would, which means it can be equal to. If you were to go up to them and say, I am less than 54 inches, would they let you on the ride? No. So it's not less than, it has to be greater than. If you were 60 inches, would they let you on the ride?
Yes, they would.
Yes, they would, because you were greater than 54 inches. All right, so the final thing we need to do on this problem is graph it. Jackson, what number goes in the middle? 54. Kiari, what's one less? 53. Karis, what's one more?
55.
Myra, open or closed circle? It is a closed circle. Armani, are all solutions going to the left or to the right? To the right, because they are all greater than. On to the next one. It says to find the unit rate. Now, if you are looking to go and try to study this, you will find this in section 5.2. So if you guys would just write that off to the side. Unit rate has to have a denominator of what? Of 1. I want you guys to write this in your notes. Denominator of 1. So just be reminded, I need to turn this denominator into a 1. Currently, we know that someone was able to type 300 words in 4 minutes. I do not want a denominator of 4. I want a denominator of 1. Joshua, how do I turn that 4 into a 1? What do I have to divide it by? I'm going to divide it by itself. Divide by 4. Class, if I divide by 4 on the bottom, I have to be fair and divide by 4 on the top. All right, when you do this, Max, what's my answer? Christopher, can you help him?
75 words per minute.
Okay, I also love that he gave me the units because with unit rate, you must have units attached. Correct, 75 words per minute. Going on to the next one, sometimes people are like, I have no idea how to do this because there are fractions. Listen, we're going to do it the same exact way that we did it before. All you're doing now is you're going to take the first thing, 1/4 mile, and divide it by the second thing, 1/12 of an hour. This means 1/4 divided by 1/12. Class, am I allowed to divide fractions?
No.
No. What method do I have to use?
KFC.
Everybody off to the right somewhere. I want you to write KFC so that you remember you have to keep the first one, flip the second one, and change the operation. Zachary, can you cross-reduce anything there?
Yeah.
What would it be?
4 and 12.
Become
1 and 3.
1 and 3. Zachary, what's my answer now?
That'd be 3.
3 what per what?
3 miles per
3 miles per
hour.
hour. Any questions for me on number 53? Next one, tell whether or not the ratios form a proportion. There's 2 ways you could do this. Did anyone do this by mental math? Okay, for those people who did it with mental math, how do you get from a 6 to a 24? Multiply by what?
4.
Times 4. So I've got to be fair. Guys, is 4 times 4 18?
No.
No, it's not. So that right there can tell me, no, this does not form a proportion. That's not the only way you could do it. Did anyone do it differently? Armani, what'd you do?
I took 8/12 and divided it, and then I took 2/3 and divided it by 1, and then 8/12 is 0.6 or 12.
Okay, so look right here. She took 4 divided by 6 to try to figure out what that is. Armani, what is 4 divided by 6?
Point repeat of 6.
0.6 repeating. All right, and then it sounds like she came over here and divided this. What was that when you divided it?
0.75.
0.75. She could obviously tell those are not the same thing, so the answer, once again, is going to be no. Okay? How many of you would say you did it with cross products? And if you did it with cross products, was the answer yes or no?
No.
It was also no. So no matter what, the answer is going to be no. They do not form a proportion. Going on to the next one, I would like us to use cross products to try to find this answer. All right, so I'll show you with this example. We have to have 8 times 1, and then we're going to take 12 and multiply it times 2/3. What can I put underneath the 12 to turn it into a fraction?
A 1.
A 1. Okay, and then over there, we know we can cross-reduce these. All right, on the left side, Garrick, what's 8 times 1?
8.
8. On the right side, Myra, what is all this? Okay, very good. Remember, you're just multiplying across the numerator. 4 times 2 is 8. Class, does 8 equal 8?
Yes.
Yes, because it does. This means, yes, they do form a proportion. Okay, the next one specifically does ask us to use mental math to find the correct answer. Our whole goal is to figure out what the x is. So I have to figure out how to get from a 12 to an x. In order to do that, I've got to see how did I get from an 18 to a 3. Joshua, what did I have to do to get from an 18 to a 3? I have to divide by 6. That's my missing link. So now on the top, I'm going to divide by 6. Just the boys, what is the answer?
2.
2, because 12 divided by 6 equals 2. Is there any way to check your work? Yes. If you want to, you can plug back in 2 right there and check to see, is 12/18 the same thing as 2/3? And if you did, you would find out, yes, they are the same. Okay? So that is correct. Very good. Let's go on to the next one. Once again, we're still using mental math. My whole goal is to discover what this x is. I have to work from the second fraction back to the first one, which means I have to work from the 2 back to the 6. Guys, how do I get from a 2 to a 6? Multiply by what number?
3.
Times 3. Okay, so if I'm working backwards, 2 times 3 is 6, which means I have to do 14 times 3. Guys, what's 14 times 3?
42.
So x equals 42 is the correct answer. All right, looking at the next one, number 58. This was probably the most heavily missed problem on my midterm last year. So I'd like you to, off on the corner, write 5.4. You will see other examples back in section 5.4 that cover this very concept right here. All right, guys, as you can see over here, I have given you a few options, kind of like what you will see on your midterm exam, where there are 4 options. Let's see if we can figure out what x would equal. Okay, first things first, we are going to use cross products to help us with this. This is where most people made the mistake. If you're seeing that yours doesn't look like this, I want you to erase it and fix it. A lot of people have forgotten, whatever number you have on the outside of parentheses, you have to multiply it by everything on the inside of parentheses. Girls, what is 10 times x? 10x. Boys, what is 10 times 5? 50. We're going to add that 50. Equals, anyone wearing a blue shirt, what's 7 times 5?
Oh, 35.
35. All right, so now we've got a problem where we are trying to get this x by itself. What should I do first, Kendall?
You should
I'm not going to divide. Okay, this is my best friend right there, so we're going to keep the 10 and x together as long as possible. Correct. We're going to get rid of the add by 50, so we're going to subtract by 50 on both sides. That cancels out. I'm left with 10x equals, Kyler, what is 35 minus 50?
Negative 20.
Not negative 20, negative 15. Zachary, how do I get that x by itself? Divide by 10 on both sides.
Oh.
How many of you see where you made a mistake? That's okay. If you made a mistake, erase it and fix it. Class, what is the answer? Negative 1.5. Guys, is my answer A, B, C, or D?
B.
It is B. How many of you would say that was the answer that you got when you did this on your own practicing? If you did not get it, please erase it and fix it. Make sure you understand. Are there any questions? Let me take some questions about it. Next one. You can type 350 characters in 75 seconds. Your friend can type 400 characters in 100 seconds. Do these rates form a proportion? So the first thing you want to do is make a proportion. 350 characters per, how long did they say that took?
75 seconds.
75 seconds. We're trying to figure out, does it equal the other one? 400 characters in how long?
100.
Per 100 seconds. There's 2 separate ways that we could do this problem. Who can explain to me how you chose to do this problem? Myra, what'd you do? All right, she chose to do cross products. So if you're doing it like that, she went 350 times 100 equals 75 times 400. Myra, what was 350 times 100? 35,000. And what is 75 times 400? 30,000. Myra, do those equal each other? No, because they do not equal each other. They do not form a proportion. Was there anyone who did it different than I just did right there? Nobody else? Okay, let me show you one way that you could have done it. 350, I'll just rewrite this, divided by 75 equals 400 divided by 100. Guys, what is 350 divided by 75? 4.6. Guys, what is 400 divided by 100? 4. Do those two equal each other? No, because they do not equal each other. Once again, you can see, no, they do not form a proportion. All All right, let's do this final problem together. An 8-ounce steak costs $12.80. So for 8 ounces, it's going to be $12.80. How much would a 32-ounce steak cost? So if we've got the same idea, 32 ounces, we are trying to figure out what the cost is. Is there anyone who thinks you know the correct answer? Armani, how'd you find your answer?
Mental math.
Okay, she chose to do mental math. Was there anyone else who did mental math? Okay, her goal here is to figure out what x is, so she's trying to figure out how to get from there to there. Armani, what is your missing link to get from the 8 to the 32?
Times 4.
Times 4. So now we're going to have to multiply this by 4 down here. Armani, when you multiplied that out, what is 1280 times 4?
$51.02.
Close. She said $51.02. But Christopher, what should it be?
$51.20?
Okay, the 0 comes back here, so it's technically $51.20. Let me show you another way you could have done this. All right, someone who did something different, who can help me out with how you did this? Jeremiah, what'd you do? Cross product. So he multiplied 8 times x, which equals 8x, and then he also did 1280 times 32. All right, so 8x equals, anyone who did it this way, what's 1280 times 32?
409.6.
Okay, not just 409.6. Give me dollars and cents. $409.60. All right, we want to get x by itself, so you divide by 8 on both sides. What's the answer, guys? Okay, give it to me with dollars and cents. Guys, is that the same answer we got before? Yes. On your midterm, I do not care which way you get the answer. Any way is fine with me. Okay? Tonight's homework is to finish your midterm review sheet numbers 61 through 70, and then that will complete our review sheet.